So I've gotten a lot of questions about how I re-rent my properties or turn them over without losing a single day's rent. You may have heard me mention that in some of my other videos. So I thought I'd do a quick video about it to show you exactly how I do that. A lot of landlords think that you have to wait until the tenants move out before you can even inspect it or start doing repairs or advertising and that kind of thing. And so if you wait until then, you're gonna have lost rent the second the tenants move out of it generally. So what I do is get ahead of that game by looking at the property ahead of time before the tenants move out, figuring out some of the things I need to do to get it ready to show, go ahead and start advertising as soon as I get it looking good. And I'm usually successful at having the property lined up even before the new tenants move out. And I'll have the old tenants lease stop one day and the new tenants lease start the next day without losing a single day of rent. This is very easy and anyone can do this. Losing a couple of weeks or a couple of months of lost rent is very expensive. You can never get it back, and I'm going to show you how you can prevent that. Thank you so much for the overwhelming support of the channel, and thank you for the 10,000 views on one of our recent videos. Please help us reach 1,000 subscribers by just clicking the subscribe button. It's completely free. Don't forget to smash the like button and leave a comment that says AirPods for a chance to win a pair of AirPod Pros that Liz is giving away to one of our first 1,000 subscribers. So I recently had some new tenants move into this home. They moved in from out of town to start a new job. And about 6 weeks into living in this house, they called me up and they said, all right, listen, this new job that we got is just not what we thought it was. And we're gonna pack up and move homes. So I said, okay, if you need to leave early, obviously you're gonna lose your deposit. But if you can help me show the house and get it re-rented, the second I get new tenants paying for rent, I'll let you out of the rest of your lease. So immediately they were very motivated to work with me to help get it re-rented. So I told them we need to get the house ready to show. Clean the inside, right? I asked them to contact their yard person and to get the grass in the yard looking really good, edge everything, blow everything, make sure the pine straw or mulch doesn't need to be replaced or neatened. It needs to have excellent curb appeal so when someone drives by, they actually want to stop and see the inside. So I said, once you get it looking good, call me and I'll come look at the property and make sure it's ready for me to start advertising. So they called me in, I went and checked it out. I brought my maintenance guy with me so we could walk around and make some notes of things that we might need to touch up as they're moving out. While I was there, I had the guys do a few little things to pick up some limbs out of the yard, and they brought their blower and blew the driveway and the sidewalks, and they actually blew the road. There had been a big storm and the road had a lot of debris in it, and so I had them blow the road on both sides so that when you just look down the street and drive down the street, that it looks really neat and clean. I also said, hey, if you move out before I get this re-rented, be sure to leave all the utilities on and continue to maintain the landscaping as you're required to in the lease so that I can continue to show people to get it rented quickly and save you the most money. I also have a checklist that I email my tenants as they're starting to move out. This says things about cleaning. If you don't clean, here's how much it will cost. And if you turn the utilities off and I have to turn them back on, there'll be an extra $50 fee in addition to the cost of the utilities. That happens a lot, by the way. And oftentimes, after the tenant gets the yard looking good, I actually send my landscaping guy over there to do another round of touching up because most people can't do it that great. It's well worth it if I have to spend $200 to $400 on getting that exterior to look really good as opposed to losing a couple of weeks or a couple of months of lost rent. We also put out these yard signs in the front yard and with arrows all the way out to both main roads leading to the house. You just write on these signs with a Sharpie and people notice them a lot more than pre-printed signs. And here's that battery operated blower we like to use when we go after the properties too. These are just some items in my Amazon store. There's a link in the show notes. So once I made sure the house was looking good, I went into my Zillow rental property app and turned on advertising. So let me show you inside the Zillow rental property app. This is on my computer, obviously, and you can also do it on your phone. I had a total of 50 inquiries and 22 applications. I only turned on the advertising for 2 weeks, and it's only $9.95 a week. If you haven't seen this yet, let me just show you quickly inside of here. I encourage all newbies and small-time investors to use Zillow Rental Property Manager. I tell everybody I know this is a great one-stop shopping place to advertise, and you want to go ahead and set up your properties in Zillow Rental Property Manager in your downtime so that whenever you have a vacancy, you can just turn it on by clicking this button. This is where you go in and you set up your property, you put your pictures and you put your details and those sorts of things. So this is some basic elements about what the price is, what the security deposit is, square feet, bedrooms, etc. And Zillow's pretty smart. It will guess information because it has access to a lot of data on houses. So it's crazy how it pre-populates a lot of things for you. I often have 3 different deposit rates and 3 different rental rates that correspond. So basically the more deposit you put down, it makes your rent a little cheaper. I tell people it just reduces my risk. So in return, I give them a cheaper rental rate. I also tell them they can move in with a smaller deposit and higher rent to start with, and at any time they can pay a little more down to lower their rent. My next video is going to be on this new 3D tour that they're offering, so be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll know when that video's out. But here's where you can list the photos, you can drag them around. It's very easy to use this app. It's free to create an ID, it's free to set it up. They also have a great corresponding cell phone app. So just after 2 weeks, I had selected some great new tenants to move into the house. The new tenants were coming from out of town, and I think it was about 3 weeks or so before they would would move in. Once the old tenants actually left town but were still paying rent for a couple of weeks, then we went in and did a few minor touch-ups to the house. We also did a few other miscellaneous repairs that we noticed that the house needed while we were out there. So I did it again. I re-rented a house without losing a single day's rent. So for example, this house rents for $18.95 a month. Every day of lost rent while you're working on it after someone moves out is about $63 a day, or about $442 a week. Again, most landlords wait until they move out to do any repairs or start showing and that sort of thing. So back to that. Inside of the Zillow Rental Property Manager app, you can see the back and forths when people ask about the house and then when you respond and so on. And so I'll chat with the people or text with the people or maybe talk to the people, ask them to drive by first before I schedule a showing with the current tenants, and I'll let them know too that it's occupied, so please don't go looking in the windows or knocking on the doors. So once I find some tenants that have driven by and they're people that I'm interested in renting to, then I'll do a three-way text with the new tenants, the old tenants, to get them to schedule a showing. So after the showing, if they're still interested, what I'll usually do is do a video conference just so I can kind of see these people. Hey, they're real people. Do they seem like a good fit for this property? And from there, I'll have them fill out the application on Zillow. It does a great job of getting their credit score for you and their proof of income and all that kind of information. I always call their existing or previous landlord. I certainly like to verify their proof of income, but I'll usually do all that remotely and then bring the lease together and meet with them in person to sign it. Recently, there have been a lot of people from the West Coast, particularly California, moving to Tennessee, and I've done some of those virtually. I do like to walk through a few key parts of the lease together just to make sure they're on the same page so that we set expectations so that then later I can hold them accountable. Now you might say, well, hey, these tenants moving out, they were going to be responsible for the rent anyway, so why did you kind of hustle around here when they would owe you anyway? For those of you experienced landlords, trying to collect money from someone who's moved out of your house to continue paying for the rent at your place and then their house or rent wherever they're going is usually a pretty tough challenge for most people. Most people can't afford to pay two of those. So I'd rather get ahead of it and try to help them get out of the lease. I say, hey, if life changes and something happens, call me and we'll work together to get it re-rented to save us both the most amount of money. Trying to collect money after people move out of your house is very difficult. I just like to stay ahead of that and get some new tenants in there as quickly as possible. Oh, and by the way, you might be saying, well, what if someone moves out right on time and they have completed their lease agreement and so they don't owe you anything? They're not motivated to show the house for you. What do you do there? I would say more times than not, people don't move out exactly when their lease ends. You know, people tend to live not by contracts, right? Life happens. In those cases where people are ending their lease on time, you want to continue to motivate them to help you to basically do this same process. The way I do that is I start out with those expectations up front. Whenever I'm reviewing the lease, when I'm first renting to the people, I set them up for that expectation there. I said, hey, listen, when you're moving out, if something changes in your life, please contact me and we'll work together to show the house and get you out of the lease as quickly as possible to save you the most money. And if you could show it for me a few times like these tenants did, I would sincerely appreciate that. And people are pretty good about that. They appreciate us letting them see it early so they could get lined up to move in. They understand that. And usually they return the favor on the tail end. But when they're ending their lease and they're going to move out on time, I do say, hey, listen, can I come inspect the place just to see how it looks so I can plan to get it ready for the next tenants? That's a good phrase to use because it's not directed at them like, what did you guys tear up and what's going to come out of your deposit? Just kind of in general, what do you think needs to be done? And so I'll go inspect it. And then generally after inspecting it, I'll say, well, hey, it looks pretty good. I'm going to have my yard guy come by and get the outside looking good. Would you do me a huge favor and show it for me if I get people to drive by first? It shouldn't take more than a few prospects. And I'll give you $25 to $50 kind of depending for each time you show it. And if someone that you show it to rents it for me, I'll give you another $100 or so. So now what you've done is given them motivation to help you. You can change those amounts around depending on the value of the property. So either way, it's important that you motivate this tenant to help you do that. I'd much rather pay someone else to do that than for me to have to drive out and do that. Oh, there's one other thing every time you're showing a property yourself or having it shown by someone else. I always say, I do this for all kinds of meetings. I say, hey, do me a favor. Can you text me an hour or two before to let me know you're running on time? I do this every time I'm meeting with someone to sign a lease because prospects are notorious for not showing up. Ask newbie landlords how many times they've shown up to show a house and the people don't show up. These couple of tips should help save you a lot of time and money. And again, one vacant week will cost $442. So if I have to spend that on my landscaping guy to make the curb appeal look really good, it's well worth it. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't seen my other two videos on this house, I'll put a link up here. The first one is on how I found this house as an off-market property. It was not listed on the MLS. I can't wait to do the video on the Zillow 3D tour, so be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll know when that video's out. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate you smashing the like button and subscribing. Although I'm a licensed CPA and have 3 business degrees, own more than $7 million of real estate, and have more than $50,000 a month in rental property income, I'm just a guy on YouTube with my dog, so please be sure to contact your professional before making any investment decisions. We post weekly, so be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll know when our next video is out. Until next time, I hope you have a great week. One key to getting the best interest rates is to build and maintain great credit. For a limited time, IdentityGuard.com is now offering my subscribers a 33% discount on their services. They search the dark web for things like my driver's license, passport, my credit card numbers, and when they find it, they actually delete it. See the link in the show notes below.